pop it in the chat. We want to know all about it. Share it with everybody. Okay, so we're going to get going because this is going to be, as I said, a jam-packed hour. In just a few seconds, I'm going to turn everything over to Lia Esposito and Shannon Kennedy of LendingTree. But for those that just joined, again, my name is 𝗪𝗏𝗪. Journey Jeffrey started a new waffle business. Now I'm hungry. I skipped lunch, and you're talking about waffles. This is killing me. But Matt Olin and I are co-founders of Charlotte is Creative. We exist to connect local creatives and creative organizations to the resources that they need. And that takes its form in micro grants that we have, promotional tools, get-togethers. We sit down and do consultation with folks. And then one of the programs that we truly love is a spinoff of our Hug Micro Grant program. And that's these monthly capacity building workshops. They're always going to be free. They're called Hug It Outs. And we want you to succeed not only in your creative endeavors, but in your creative business endeavors. And we all know that one of the aspects of making our living as creatives that very few creatives enjoy are the business tactics, promotion, paperwork, legal matters, contracting, negotiation. Every month we offer free capacity building workshops. And this month, our topic of choice is going to be social media tips and tactics from two absolute experts. And I'm going to introduce them in just a second. But I do want to make sure that you guys are aware of 3 programs that we have available for you right now. The first is our Hug Micro Grant programs, or mini grants. Those are $250 strings-free grants that you can apply for to remove just one obstacle from a creative endeavor. That could be you need materials to build what you're doing. You need a little bit of money to pay for some marketing. You need to print flyers. You're trying to incorporate and you need money to offset the legal fees to get your 501c3 or to become an LLC. You need money to pay for studio fees or new equipment. All of that you can apply for. So I will put in the chat right now the link of how to get there to apply for a Hug Micro Grant. Pretty easy, huggrant.com. Once you've got that first $250 grant, one thing that not enough Hug grantees are taking advantage of is what we call a bear hug. A bear hug is a $1,000 grant that you can apply for after 6 months after you get your first Hug grant. This is powered by the LendingTree Foundation. They make it possible for us to support you guys with more dollars. This last month, we did not have enough applications. It's the first month in a year that we did not have an app that our board felt good about investing in. So if you are a previous Hug grantee, guess what? We're looking to invest in you. So I'm putting the link to the sign up for, or the application, which just takes 5 minutes, for the bear hug, $1,000 bear hug in the grant next. We've got 2 more things I'm telling you about. One is that we also have what's called a helping hand hug. If you are putting on an event primarily, or you're doing work at your space, or you're doing a project that requires tools, tables, chairs, tents, games, trash cans, brushes, all that kind of stuff, we have a $300 credit that you can apply for. And that $300 credit at the Charlotte Community Tool Bank will give you up to $10,000 in real world tools. And I think we all know that when you're putting on particularly an event, one of the easiest ways to go through your resources is to all the stuff, chair rental, table rental, trash cans, even trash bags, things like that. You can use this credit to offset the cost of any charitable or nonprofit event that you're working with. Just to give you an example of how it worked for us, we had an event last year that required $3,000 worth of tools and equipment, and it cost us, getting all that stuff from the tool bank, $96. So that $300 credit that you get can go a really long way. That is an underutilized hug, so I'm putting that in the chat. And then the final thing before we move on to our speakers is we know that creatives in Charlotte need space. That to get your work done, you need a place to work. Sometimes we have so many people that say, you know, I would build something bigger or I would move in a different direction creatively if I didn't have to do it in my living room. So we launched the Charlotte Space Program. And the Charlotte Space Program gives you the opportunity to apply for up to a 4-month mini residency in either the McCall Center or now also the VAPA Center. We opened up last week the applications for the McCall mini residency, which will run from October to through January to applications. The applications are open until September the 18th. I'm putting the link in here. What we want from you is just to tell us, how would you use this space? How would it change your life to be able to execute a project with the resources and dedicated space that you could get at the McCall Center? So it's open to creatives of all disciplines with an exception. You cannot do retail arts there, meaning you expect people to be able to come into the McCall Center and buy your materials. And it is not a good environment. We are not accepting applications for it to be a podcasting studio or a place like a videography bay. We are working on something else in that regard at the Charlotte Art League. But if you apply for that with the McCall Center space specifically, it's not going to be accepted because their space is not suitable for that. I've put all those links in the chat. If anybody has questions, you can just DM me as this goes on and I'll answer that for you. And now, without further ado, I want to introduce you to Shannon Kennedy and Lia Esposito of the LendingTree Foundation. We've gotten to know them because Charlotte is Creative, along with Art Pop and a number of other really cool, innovative, kind of scrappy nonprofit organizations are part of the inaugural Lend a Hand Alliance cohort, which is a grouping of people that have been selected by the LendingTree Foundation to receive support services, training, and 3 years of dedicated financial support. The check that they give us is beautiful and wonderful, but what has been most impactful are all the different experts and the capacity building they've done for us. And about a month ago, we had a meeting, all-day meeting at LendingTree's offices, and Shannon and Lia gave the talk they're about to give now about tips and tricks and strategies and advice on how to best mobilize social media to share your message and build your audience. And I kind of made a beeline afterwards and said, please do this for us, and then followed up with an email, and they've graciously given us this time to let you know a little bit more about them. Shannon Kennedy is a senior content and partnership coordinator for LendingTree. She is a UNC Chapel Hill journalism and mass communications grad with a PR focus, which is just warms the cockles of my heart. And she has more than 15 years experience with in-house PR, marketing, and brand management from everything from local and regional businesses to Westin resorts. And Lia Esposito is also a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with an advertising and public relations degree. She is a content and partnerships coordinator for LendingTree, and she works with Shannon on brand marketing, organic social campaigns, consumer surveys, and corporate communications. And her day-to-day, much like what you guys probably need to do too, is to brainstorm new initiatives, create graphics and short-form video content, and manage and analyze the results of their various social and organic initiatives. And then prior to LendingTree, she was the social media director for a nonprofit in New York called the Rehearsal Club. They are incredible, heart-led creatives in their own right who are here to share with you guys so that you can succeed. And with no further comment, I'm going to turn it over, Shannon, to you and Lia. Please share your screen. I'll go on mute and share your wisdom. If you have questions as it goes, pop it in the chat. I'll be looking for it and we'll deal with it. We'll get through as many questions as we can at the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. I don't think I've ever been introduced in such a manner. I'm Shannon. As Tim said, we're going to lead you through a little bit about social media basics. We're going to focus on organic social media, so meaning not paid ads, just things that you would do without spending any money to do it. So that's kind of what our focus is going to be today. First big question, why should you be active on social media? My first answer, it's still free. It's one of the first or the only things left that is actually free that you can use to promote yourself, your products, your services, your art, whatever you happen to be creating, you can still do it for free on social media. So that's a big deal. Half of the global population uses it. And you can use it to express yourself in any way that you choose. So that's a really great feature of it. It's also fun to be really interactive with the people that you are reaching out to. Ads are kind of like one-way streets. You just kind of like put an ad in a newspaper or in a magazine, and that's the end of the conversation. But it's nice to use social media to be social, to communicate with people, to explain yourself. And then you can also reach new targets, clients, donors, volunteers, staff. So there's a lot of ways that you can use social that are going to be beneficial to you.
Okay, so content creation and then posting made easy. So kind of to break it down, we kind of identified where each platform kind of exists in like the landscape of social in general. So Facebook is like the OG to find community. There's like groups, everyone kind of it looks to Facebook as kind of like the original. It's where you find the mix that works for you. You can test different types of content because there's such a wide audience. I feel like they've kind of back and forth, gone with video and photo. So it's kind of like a nice little array. You can do albums. And then Instagram really is photo and video for aesthetic. Branded video and images that intrigue people to want to know more because, you're really leading with the image where Facebook kind of is a little bit of both. The great debate of what Instagram's future looks like. I definitely think, prior to a couple months ago, we would have said that this is photo for the aesthetic. And then, they wanted to be TikTok's, rival and really boosted video for the algorithm. So just keeping that in mind of people were irritated at that. So who knows what the future will look like for them. But, and then Twitter is the new way to get news. It's quick updates, fast facts, and ways of starting conversations with the media. A lot of reporters use Twitter as kind of like a primary thing. You're sharing articles. And then kind of the quote tweet, reply tweet thing of really having that conversation in such little informational nuggets. LinkedIn, what you would say in a job interview, this is the best version of yourself. And the new thing is to be a thought leader, of starting conversations about a topic that kind of makes sense for you and your realm of expertise. And also showing different sides of your initiatives. I really think of LinkedIn also as personal branding, especially for people that are doing freelance or, want to add to the value of whoever they're working for at that time. You want to highlight why you're a key player and, think about recruiting others for what you're doing. Because it's a huge network. And the way that their algorithm is so great since your connections of connections of connections kind of see your stuff as it continues to go on. YouTube walked so TikTok could run. This is the original video platform. It really blew up. People can get lost in videos for hours. They have a great algorithm to keep suggesting more and keep your attention span. And I think people do tend to be on YouTube and watch longer things versus TikTok is shorter. You might still be on there quite a while, but you kind of have a bigger attention span on YouTube. And then SEO best practices play a huge role just since it's such a search heavy thing. And then Gen Z playground is TikTok. Now, I'm not saying that, other generations aren't on TikTok, but I think this is really if you were trying to reach Gen Z, this is where you can find them. And this is where you can really get them because on anything else, they're not going to have kind of the long attention span. If you saw my screen time for TikTok, it would be embarrassing. And so if you think about everything that you know about social media, just completely flip it on its head. This is where you can make the most headway of really defining your own space, because everything is kind of already established in some of the other social platforms. And the best way to approach TikTok is to see what is best. You know, Ryanair, Duolingo, like some of the stuff that they're doing has never been done before, and they're the first ones to do it, and that's why they're super successful. And everyone is really just learning as they're going, which is so fun about it.
We want to go over just a couple kinds of content to give you some ideas. Sometimes that like paralysis of just like, what do I even post is the biggest obstacle. So just a couple of ways to kind of get some inspiration. The first, what we call evergreen content. So this might be something that is always applicable to you. It might be your background. It might be like for us, one of our biggest, like most successful posts is what is LendingTree? And I mean, it is consistently always a high performer for us. And that to that point, there's never anything that's too simple, too small of a nugget, too basic of information to share. What might be like logical or just like second nature to you is a new piece of information for someone in your audience. So never feel like you can't post the same thing repeatedly. Maybe just change the look of it, or change maybe change how you present it, static post versus a video. But evergreen content is going to be stuff that you know you always have in the can that you can post regularly. Trendy content. I always say, like, an imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, right? Take something that's trending, that's like hot right now, and make it your own. How can you customize a trend online that would make people laugh or make people think or make people think of you in whatever way is trending online? So don't think like you have to always come up with something brand new every single day. Go online, see what inspires you, see what's fun, and make it yours. Frequency. How often should I post is a big question we get a lot. There's no specific like one answer to this. A lot of it will be dependent on your resources. So if you have the time and resources to post daily, post daily. I just say try to find a consistent schedule. If that means like you can dedicate Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays to posting, that's great. But if you can only post on 1 or 2 days a week, that's okay too. What's more important than the frequency is the quality of your posts. What messages are you sending across? How are you engaging with your audience? If you're just posting for the sake of posting, that's not really going to help you that much, so don't feel pressure to post constantly. Prioritize platforms that work for you. If you find that Instagram is working so much better for you than Twitter, spend your time there. Don't feel like you have to become a master of every single platform in all ways. And certain topics, certain aesthetics will naturally perform better on different platforms, and that's totally okay. So like if you're finding that one is just like not doing it for you, don't worry about it. Kind of put it to the side and focus on what is working for you. It's not to say you shouldn't try new things. We should always be trying new things, but with limited resources, we have to prioritize that. One thing we did with LendingTree was when we were kind of launching our social content, we chose 3 content pillars to help guide us. Here's some examples: success stories, project updates, volunteer features, just to kind of give you you don't have to post everything all the time. Say like, these are the 3 things I'm gonna focus on. Most of our posts are gonna be about those 3 different things, about me and my business, my products, my services, so that you can kind of narrow down your focus and niche a little bit into your category. Definitely. There we go. We developed just a little list of free or almost free social tools for you guys, because I know that resources can be really limited. One of them is Hootsuite, and these, I'm sure you'll get this deck later, they're all linked, so you'll have a link to everything. Hootsuite has some way to schedule posts, it has ways to listen, so you can like put in your company or your business or your name as a search term, and it'll just automatically pull in from different platforms where you're being mentioned, how you're being mentioned, so you can monitor that and also respond if you need to. Buffer does a lot of the same things. Canva is what I call your design BFF. And I say in here that the Canva Pro is only $120 a year. We learned at our meeting with Tim last month that for nonprofit things, it is free. So if you are a nonprofit, then you can access Canva Pro for free. So that was a good nugget of information that we learned. If not, like I said, it is $120 a year, and I will say that Canva is some of the best money you've ever spent. It will turn you into like a basic graphic designer in 5 minutes. It is so intuitive, so useful, and so helpful. Campsite, because one of my main gripes, links still do not work on Instagram posts. I do not know why. Why, Zach, why? I said in the meeting last week, like, we are in the year of our Lord 2022, and I can't post a link on Instagram, and it drives me bananas. So Campsite is one thing that Lia actually turned me on to, where you can make a custom link, like a link tree, so that if you're posting, about a sale that you're having, you can, and people want to, register for a ticket or something like that, you can put the link on your Campsite and put like link in bio on your Instagram, and that will take you to the Campsite where they can access any links that you might need to provide. There are some in-platform options. Facebook has links, Twitter has links. They vary widely by platform. So it's kind of hard to make a sweeping statement. If it works for you, great. If not, that's okay too. One thing, if you're doing in-platform options that I didn't put on here, but now I'm just thinking, be sure to shorten your links so they're not like super duper long. There is a website called Bitly that is a free website that'll shorten your links to really small. That's really helpful on things like Twitter, where there are limited number of characters, and just for the aesthetic purpose of not having long links. We discovered CapCut when we first got on TikTok. That is user-friendly video editing for like not video editors. I popped in there and edited a video without any knowledge of what to do the first time I used it. So if I can do that, you guys can do that too. I am not at all any sort of video creator. So CapCut is what I highly recommend, and that is a free app also. I don't know if I'm doing this every time. Is this me? Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Where to find ideas and updates. A lot of times we're just in need of some sort of inspiration, so we just put together a little list of where we sort of like to find ideas. Spend time on the platforms. Look through key hashtags that apply to you, maybe to your niche of artwork, maybe to your competitors, maybe to people that are related to your business in some way. We put 3 links to newsletters that we really like for marketing. The first is Daily Carnage, then there's Morning Brew. Lia Haberman is from Morning Brew, is that correct?
No. Lia Haberman is a CMO of, oh my gosh, what's it called? I think it's like the Fit Body app or something. But she's a LinkedIn influencer that I accidentally found because she has the best name ever. Yeah, but she's great. And she does a whole weekly recap of everything that happened in social and like a little bit wider in marketing once a week. I have no idea how she has the time to do it, but it is extremely extensive and like it's great. Awesome.
And those cover just like general marketing, not necessarily social media specific, but you can always apply things that are happening in generally in the marketing, advertising world to what you're doing as well. Some of our favorite accounts to follow, Mosseri is the head of Instagram. He will give you the updates on Instagram as to what they are prioritizing, new features that may have been added in the last update or two. So he's a great account to follow. Your Social Team and the Social 𝗪𝗪𝗪 are 2 of my favorites for how to create content, easy templates to use, trends that are happening as well. So they're just kind of like, hey, here's some stuff that's going on. Maybe this is how you could spin it for your own use. Just a couple of news organizations, Ad Age and Adweek, and then we really like Social Media Today as well.
Okay, so this is our design snorkel, since we don't have time to do a deep dive, but of just thinking through what does content creation look like? I think sometimes often like it gets overlooked of like the basics. So go to that design kind of instinct within you, and like as long as you have these like very simple things, like you really can't fail like at content creation. It's kind of like one of those things where trial and error is incredible, and you learn so much. And like I was a self-taught designer. I think I get on our designers' nerves sometimes because like I just miss like very simple things that they learned in school. But then again, they also have trusted me to run accounts with the stuff that I produce. So, you know, take that as you will. So readable font, pick 1 to 2 fonts and keep them very consistent. If you don't already have like a brand template or like kind of guiding principle of
style guide.
Yeah, style guide, there we go, that was the word I was looking for. You know, kind of think through what your style guide would be. If it's for you personally, like I have a style guide for myself because I'm just crazy with some of my personal branding, but it's super helpful. Go for something that's versatile. Like I think sometimes you want to go for like the pretty, but I really think pick 2 fonts that work well together. Even if like one is super pretty on its own, if it looks super bizarre with like another one, like it's kind of like, interesting. You don't want people to have that look on their face. And then colors. I just kind of use this like hex code kind of to give people the idea of just like pick things that look good together. And the hex codes are a good thing in case you haven't seen hex codes before of like having a set color. Like it's not just like, I'll do a light blue. Like it's like that light blue kind of thing. Color theory, primary, secondary, and tertiary colors are super helpful so that you have like again, that style guide kind of hierarchy of like what to do. And then, you know, reassessing if like you keep wanting to use a secondary color, well, maybe that's your primary color, and going forward with that. Canva Pro also has an integration with style guides for both fonts, logos, colors. So that is super helpful if that's the place you want it to live. And then, yeah, just keep it simple. And then you can always add, it's weirder if you have like 14 grays and you use like 3 kind of thing. Yep. And then borders. This is especially like important for like Instagram since it's like a square, but also just like knowing like when you do an album on Facebook, like how it kind of like scrunches everything down and like the one has like the view of the full picture, but then the other ones have like the plus, you know, like thinking about what happens when you actually post things and knowing what it's going to look like is super important. I think the best example of safe space is TikTok, because in your video, the bottom has like your username, your caption, like all that jazz is down there. And then up it, like through the like vertical part on the right is like all of your engagement stuff. So like, you know, like, comment, share. So you kind of lose that real estate. They have a clear feature now, but you know, knowing that not everyone is going to do that of like where you really want all of your stuff to live so it doesn't get blocked. Also, this applies with logos. It drives me crazy when people like cram their logo up against something because it's like, no, like you're important. Give yourself that space. Like let yourself breathe. And then don't be afraid to use templates because I think this kind of makes the safe space for you. So that you kind of know where you should be anyways, or make a template and be like, oh, well, this is, you know, the TikTok dimensions, this is where we can live, you know, that kind of thing. Visually appealing photos, try to tell a story, especially for Instagram, like thinking of like content. We try to incorporate, you know, brand colors as much as we possibly can into anything. So like if we have a photo trying to wear like a green shirt or like we might even put like a light you know, filter over the top of it, or you know, have some sort of opacity like blur into something, or you know, we've done borders for the corporate philanthropy social. So thinking of how you can make an image still look like it's yours. there's great examples of different things, of accounts. And I mean, we just kind of find things with a Google search of kind of like, what accounts are doing things where you recognize the account in an instant. For example, one of our competitors, Bankrate, does like everything is blue. Everything is blue. It's all like graphics, but like if you saw a Bankrate ad, you would immediately know it was Bankrate. So there is something to be said of, even though as someone who would identify as a creative, I hate it because it's literally the same template over and over and over again. It does work for them. So recognizing your goals and not being too like aesthetic about things. And then I was joking in the last one that I said no blurry pictures, but then I found a blurry picture from Pinterest. So, you know, there is something to be said that it's trendy right now.
Kids are doing blurry pictures.
Yeah, kids are doing blurry pictures, but you know, just be intentional with things. Like if you want to run with the blurry thing, like go for it. But yeah, like again, just of like a basic. And then, you know, we said like the backs of heads, you're not really going to feel like you're in the moment. You're going to feel like you're like looking at the moment. So, you know, again, trying to tell a story. And then no thumbs. That one's just, yeah. Okay, KPIs and metrics snorkel. So really the most fun thing that I love about social is explaining the why. A lot of people don't share that same take, but I love testing theories and all of that. So this will kind of root you in some of that. There's reach metrics, which are like how many people are actually seeing things. There's this whole like share of voice content or metric of basically like comparing you versus your competitors. It's kind of cool. I've only seen it more recently. I don't know if I just haven't been in the metric world, but I think it's a great stat for you to be able to say. Community growth, which is like followers, total followers, new followers, engagement rate, which is like your likes, comments, shares, view time, etc. And then your conversions of like if you're clicking out to something or completion rates, that is it. Yeah. Have a North Star for your KPIs. There's a lot of things, and like especially in the actual apps themselves, there's a lot of data thrown at you. Try and tell a story if you can, but don't pick and choose the data just to tell a certain story. But like if you know that you really care about getting new followers and growing your community, then maybe don't worry that you only get 3 likes on every post if you're still growing, kind of thing. Oh, KPI is a key performance indicator. I'm sorry. We just say KPI.
Yeah, sorry.
That's just one of LendingTree has so many acronyms.
Acronym world over here.
And you can have more than one KPI across initiatives. So like if you do want to measure your new followers, but you also want to care about how many people have shared it, like you want like something that's shareable and people talk about it, that kind of thing. You can compare, but still have that hierarchy of like what you care about. Because when people ask you questions, then like it's easier. And then you can always change because your goals change or your content changes or you know what you're optimizing towards. Maybe you finally got that follower count that you wanted and now you're like, okay, well then what's next? You can pivot to a different one. Think about by platform too. Like you're not going to look at completion rates on Pinterest because Pinterest isn't really a video like platform kind of thing. If it is, excuse me, I haven't cut. Yeah, that's what I was like. I think that's a safe one. And then how do they interact together? So like if your KPI is again growing your community of like, how do you have your content kind of work together of thinking about what if everyone follows every single account you have versus what if everyone only follows one because you want to talk to both audiences. And then what metrics make sense for a platform and not another, which I kind of just talked about. And then really, it's all just what's important to you and why. One example of something that we talk about on a day-to-day basis is we know our competitors value other metrics than we do. We know our paid team values different metrics than the organic team. It's definitely based on what our goals are, and then what do we personally value, and what can we kind of advocate for of being our guiding North Star, really. It's a very opinionated thing of kind of what we're leading with and what our goals are. So yeah.
Yeah, one example of that, like our paid team is based on like what revenue is producing from their ads, right? I'm more concerned with like, do you know who LendingTree is? Would you consider us the next time you need a loan? So I'm more concerned with like the conversation, whereas the paid team is much more concerned with the revenue side of things. One is not better or worse than the other, they're just different goals. So keep that in mind as you're working through your process and as you're posting.
When they accomplish different things too. And they're posting different things. Like, we wouldn't post the same thing for, like, you're optimizing towards your metric too. So that's another thing to also kind of touch on a teeny bit is like, if you know people like your posts more when the pictures are red, that's like a very random thing. But like, if you get way more likes on red pictures and likes is your goal, maybe use red a little bit more. Maybe try red on other platforms. If it works on Instagram, does it work on Facebook? Ooh, it does not work on Facebook. You know, like stuff like that. Yeah. So why are they important? Compare across benchmarks. There is data out there of kind of like industry averages, you know, how many followers does the average Instagram user have, you know, things like that. We try not to get too heavy in the benchmarks though, because honestly, they're very secretive about some of the stuff. Like TikTok will not reveal anything. I've had to pull teeth like to get different things from them. So don't get hung up in it. And also another thing that's super important is like what may look organic, so like without paid boosting, can easily be paid boosting, and it's very like shady with the FTC and everything. But like some of our competitors definitely use paid advertising, which increases their follower accounts by a lot. So it's like, oh, why do we have 10,000 followers and they have 100,000 followers? Well, don't compare yourself, because if you're not using paid boosting, like you can't compare it. Anyways, quantify initiatives. It is super important to be able to say, like instead of I like the red posts, like we're just gonna do red posts. Like, well, actually red performs better on Instagram. I think we should continue posting red. Tracking growth, you know, of saying our red picture last week got 2 likes and this week it got 20, you know, like you can easily say that, because one of the hard things is like, you know, somebody asks you how the account's doing and it's like, oh, it's doing good. What is good? You know, like, you know, be able to kind of back some things up, or say it's not going good. And then you can kind of explain like, oh, well, we've been posting more green pictures, so we haven't gotten as many likes, but we had to post green pictures because it's, yeah, you know, something like that. Understand your audience and meet them where they are. I think that's a really important thing. Sometimes we get so focused on like growing and like changing or like, you know, reinventing the wheel that it's like, well, the audience that you already acquired with the stuff that you have is there because they want to be there and they like what you're already doing. So don't lose them in your quest for growth either. But still finding ways to optimize of like, if you are seeing they're swaying a certain way about certain things, like listen to them. Like it definitely is that two-way interaction. Not to say that you should like take the advice of every troll on the internet, but you know, general trends.
And then we just provided a couple pages of an appendix. This first link, Sprout Social's always up-to-date social spec guide. It's hard to say, but it is, Sprout Social provides every spec for every social media platform that you could possibly use. So you're like, I don't know exactly how big my picture on Twitter needs to be to fit exactly in the box. You can go on that spec guide and find the Twitter section and you'll see it. It'll also give like max you know, max size for videos, max size for photos. So it gives you all of the things you need to know logistically about using each platform. We also went through account verification by platform because that can be a huge pain, as we have both gone through with some LendingTree accounts. So this is just a couple different ways, best ways to go about getting verified if that's something that is important to you. I'm not sure exactly what the, they do it for nonprofits as well?
Well, so a lot of the time, verification is optimized towards influencers, like to be completely frank with you. Like the TikTok verification process is terrible because it's like find 10 news articles from the past year that talk about you, kind of thing. So just be aware of what its true purpose is, like, because if every account was verified, it would take away kind of the credibility. So like understanding why verification is a goal is important too. There you go. Oh, and then I just put in some examples of style guides that are helpful in creating you know, some brand guidelines, whether it's personal or professional. It's always a great kind of way to orient yourself, and also like replicate if it's not just one person, to keep things consistent.
I always say with a style guide, it's like a lot of work on the front end and a lot of decisions made, but that pays off dividends in the back end because it is already there. You don't have to decide things. You know exactly what colors to put where, what fonts you're using. So it kind of is just your little Bible as to who you are as a brand.
Also, I will just quickly note the LendingTree Creative Style Guide is way more of like the 14 grays because one's for email, one's for display, one's for, you know, that kind of thing. The blog HubSpot link is really great because it's way more like dialed back. Not to say LendingTree doesn't have a reason for 14 grays, but that's not the place to
start. You might not need that many.
Yeah.
That's it.
Guys, that was awesome, and you've left us with plenty of time to ask questions. So if people listening, if you've got questions, pop them in the chat. But I'm gonna take the first 4. Actually, we have 5 on deck. The first comes from Kelly Zimmerman, and Kelly, if you want to further this after I read it, just come off mute and elaborate. But she asks, I'd love some guidance on what types of content to post on Instagram. I work mainly in fiber installations, so I don't have a ton of new projects all the time to share.
I would say instead of being like, this is my new project that is done, since those are few and far between, it sounds like these are time-consuming things. I would do like a reel of all of the stages in your project. So the concepting, the sourcing of materials, the planning out of your thing as you are going along, you know, each phase of it. And that could be 10 reels or 10 different photos on Instagram for you just of that one thing. So don't only think of, the interesting part is not just the finished project, right? It's everything along the way. And like I was saying earlier, don't think that any piece of what you do is too small to share. It is all interesting, it's all new information, it's all part of you and what you do and who you are. So let people in on the bits and pieces, and even on the failures, like, oh, I messed this up and this is how that went wrong, if it's funny or if it was frustrating. Let people in on that entire process.
To that point too of thinking not just the art itself, but like, where is it? Why is it there? Who are you? You know, like, how'd you get here? Like, think about why people would want to follow your account, in a way of like, what's cool? Like, who are you talking to? Like, are you talking to other artists? Are you talking to people that have no idea about fiber installations? You know, like things like that. And then you kind of start to like think of questions that people might have and then answer the questions. That's a great place to start.
If it's an Insta, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say also going back to those 3 content pillars of like find a way to root yourself of like telling a story, like the actual art itself, maybe the behind the scenes, like things like that, of just having a general like how to guide for you specifically, and answer those questions and do that brainstorming before you even start kind of, and then have that as a roadmap to go forward.
Yeah, the same way you would plan out your project, I would plan out the story that you're telling about that project. And every step of the way, what content can you create on each step? And even if like you're being hired like by a business to do it, interview the people at the business that hired you. Why did they hire you? What was appealing about you to them? You know, why is it a good match for this project? All of those things are really interesting.
And if they have social, like work that in the contract because they want content too. So you know, if you can do collaborations, if you can appear on theirs and share it on yours, that like, I mean, we're always looking for stuff when it makes sense for us. So push that for yourself and start that conversation.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, sorry, Kelly, didn't mean to talk over you. Christine Weber asked, hashtags. What are some good resources for hashtags, for hashtag analysis?
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So my cheat is I Google whatever the topic is that I think is the most important thing, and then I say hashtags, and that's the way that I start. There's some really silly websites that just do like general things and keywords related to whatever you search. They're kind of fantastic, and they're a great like jumping off place. And then that's another way where imitation is the highest form of flattery. What are people in your industry using as hashtags? Because another thing is like you want to have competitors that are at your level for you to look at for comparison. But I always have like a dream account, like that kind of makes sense for me, like to aspire to. And that's the one that I'm looking at, like, okay, they have way more followers than I do. What are they using as hashtags? How can I engage that audience? Because I want that to be my audience eventually, kind of thing. And then on top of that, I mean, TikTok kind of makes the job easy and like tells you how many times that hashtag has been mentioned in videos. I think generally speaking, if I use the hashtag on TikTok, I feel comfortable enough using it in another place as well, because I know that that conversation is not just happening on TikTok. But yeah, also the Discover platform for any of the accounts, like you can kind of see what conversation has been happening around a certain hashtag. I would always do that if there's something that you don't know exactly what it means, or if it has double meanings because you don't want to get caught up in conversations you don't want to be a part of. That's important. Or something goes a totally different direction. There's been a couple trends on TikTok that it's like, it's been all cute and fun, and then it just pivots. So be careful.
That's great. Thanks, guys. All right. Dominique Arrington asked, any local contacts that can help with SEO at a reasonable price?
I do not know of any. I'm not sure if we are even allowed to recommend anything like that to you, so I don't think we can answer that question.
Yeah, Dominique, well, I don't have anybody that I can recommend right off the bat. The SEO firm that we used to work with decided to do something else with their career. So, but can
I jump in here? That's not a person, maybe.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So in my attempt to understand more facets of marketing, because my specialization is not SEO. I did some LinkedIn learnings to kind of understand keywords, keyword analysis. There's some really great stuff.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
YouTube would be a really good resource for basics as well.
Yeah, blogging. Actually, that's kind of where I was rooted in, Anna. I created a professional portfolio, and that was where I really was thinking about SEO. So we're on the same.
Several folks have also said start blogging. Make sure that your website has a blog on it. Dominique, I actually have somebody who might be able to help you now that I've had a couple of seconds to think of it. So I will reach out to you, and this guy's on our board of directors, and I think he'll talk to you and give you some advice. So, also, wait, we had one other person say it was Brenda Kahn. So, so Brenda, or it might be, I saw Brian Kahn on here. I don't know if it's either or, but if you would reach out to Dominique and DM her in the chat, that would be great. All right. Brendan Flom asks, any iPod users, I recommend download. Oh, this is more of a comment. So any iPad users, I recommend downloading GoodNotes. If you have solid penmanship, you can create some great content on there. Southeast Arts asked, are surveys useful? I'm finding they're not statistically significant.
Oh my goodness. So I actually just transitioned into a new role at LendingTree and I run our surveys. So that's hilarious. I think that surveys can be dangerous if they're not conducted in a way that makes sense and actually encompasses the population that you're talking about. At LendingTree, we survey like 1,500 people per survey, which even that is a little like on the edge of statistical significance. But for Gen Pop, if you're looking for just a general like take on opinion and you kind of have a hypothesis, they're great to confirm that as long as you're not having like confirmation bias of like leading questions or that kind of jazz. And it also kind of depends where you put them. Like for school, we had to do surveys, like to just like say that we could do a survey. And now I'm conducting surveys, so yikes. But if you post it to social media and kind of see what you can get, and just have demographic questions and maybe take it with a grain of salt, I think they're great, but I'm a little biased.
Thanks, Leah. That's great. I would just say with in my experience, like it depends on what you want out of it, right? If you want fact-based stuff that you can, intel that you can use as part of a strategy, or you're going to expend money or effort or capital into, you do need to have I think, work with an accredited person like we worked with recently with UNC Charlotte's Urban Institute, and that's to get the proper sample size and strategy. But if it's just to get opinions or get people interacting, I think it's fun to do them. But yeah, you have to then take what you get with a grain of salt. So.
Also, just to that point too, like make sure there's not already pre-existing data out there because like, for example, LendingTree does a ton of surveys that you wouldn't necessarily think that LendingTree would cover. So that data might already exist for you and they paid for it. So just quick Google search on some stuff.
Awesome. All right. Journey asked, I have a question for food marketing. TikTok has been good for me for marketing my waffles. Now you're making me hungry again, Journey. One video hit 50,000.3 views, 89 counts, 1,500 likes. What ideas can you suggest I do for marketing that you've learned from your field?
For waffles. Got waffle ideas?
Yeah. So I think a great thing to do is whatever that video was, figure out why it went viral.
What are the comments saying?
Yeah, like figure out why people liked it and engaged with it. And then now you have your secret sauce. Replicate it. Like, some of the best accounts really have their one niche thing that they do and they do it over and over again and people still think it's interesting. For example, one of my favorite accounts right now is Salary Transparency Street, Transparent Street, excuse me. And Hannah Williams, I literally know her name, like does it every single time of asking people what they do, how much they make, where they are, like how they got their experience, like, and it's like the same content, different font is really what it is. So also, I mean, you have a very visually appealing.
You have a sexy product.
Yeah.
It's so lucky. We don't have
It's
that.
so great. Find a trending audio, and then if it has something like, okay, this is really gross, but the first thing that kind of came to my head was like, put corn on a waffle and use the corn song. Like, don't actually do that, but that's like a great example of tying something together that's already going and putting your own spin on it. Don't have corn waffles. I don't think that would be appealing, but
People don't.
yeah. But figure out how you can interact with conversations that are already happening. Another thing is, I don't know if you do like waffle shapes, but like like the rich minions. Yeah, that was what it was. Like the Minion trend where everyone wears suits and like went to see like the Minions movie and they had like a song that like went with it. Like if you could make a Minion waffle or like, you know, stuff like that of like, how do you take a waffle and incorporate it in things? We do it all the time with finance. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but.
And if there's any way to break down that successful content, like if it was the finished product of, like we were talking about before with the fiber installation, like if it was a finished product waffle, like maybe show how exactly you made it, you know? I don't know if that's an interesting secret, I have no idea. But
that's a secret, you can't give away how he makes his waffles, don't give the ingredients out.
Don't give the ingredients, but if there's some sort of breakdown or smaller nuggets, that would be, you know, maybe a route to take to.
Guys, that was fantastic. Thanks. All right, Caleb Smith has a few questions, and then I think Rocky Little is going to be the last one that we get to. Caleb has two, one of which I guess Southeast Arts kind of is going to tag onto. He asks, do you guys have a good way to find popular sounds on Instagram? And in tandem with that, Southeast Arts is asking for music tips.
You're more in the music world than I am. So.
Yeah, so I would say, well, I'm gonna make a joke first. I would be on TikTok first because Instagram gets everything like a month late. No, I'm just kidding. I do think TikTok does better with finding trending audios. There's also accounts that you can follow that like literally tell you like what the trending sounds are and how you can use them. Since I'm on like brand talk now with like the LendingTree TikTok, I get like suggestions to follow those. I think they're kind of annoying, but sometimes they are helpful. Honestly, I think the best way to find stuff is really just to spend time on the account. When I first started the TikTok, I don't even want to tell you how much time I was spending on TikTok, but I really accredited it as research. And that's the story I'm sticking to. But now that things are kind of going, I would say like I spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour just kind of looking on the For You page. Another thing is using the hashtags, using the people that you follow if you don't have as much time to spend. There's certain accounts that are kind of like my like copycat accounts of like what sounds are they using, like because it's probably a trending audio because they always use trending audios or that kind of thing. Also, like honestly, some of those e-newsletters that I follow talk about some of the trending sounds anyways, and they're gonna cover Corn Kid before like Corn Kid shows up on Chipotle's branded like ad about the corn that they've got, you know, stuff like that. And also I will say a caveat to that of like, it really is never too late. Like just try it. And then you might be like, oh, that flopped, it was too late, but you know, you might as well try.
Yeah, I would say if you are having like, sometimes we have like square peg round hole issues where we can't figure out how to like maneuver LendingTree's brand into something that's trending, even if it's a sound or if it's a, you know, just a fun theme that's going on. Don't feel bad about just like saving that sound for later. Like maybe you want to use it later, or maybe like you found a sound you like, but you don't know exactly what to put with it. You can, on every platform, you can hit on any of the sounds, save to save the sounds for later. And then maybe even when you are lacking inspiration, go back in your saved sounds. Something might come up for you later that you're like, oh, that would be perfect. I have the sound saved for that. Here it is right here for me. So I like to save things if I don't have an immediate use for them, but I'm like, I think I could use that at another time.
Another thing is I really bought the like you need a trending audio on your videos to go viral. And I'm kind of finding it's not necessarily the case. If you have good content that is on its own is good, like you don't need to throw in a song. It could help if it really fits, but if it doesn't fit and it's like, it's just gonna make people confused. So like some of our stuff doesn't have audio now, it's just us talking or whatever. We've been doing like a lot of skit stuff.
We're also constrained because we can't use any copyrighted sound, so.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
On TikTok, you can.
Yeah, so there's some constraints there, they'll take things down or, you know, remove the sound, so we have a couple of constraints to work around, and that's always a fun game.
So it depends if you're a brand account or a personal account for usage rights, and that's a whole other beast. Sorry, we answered that really long.
No, that was a great answer. All right, Caleb, hang on. I think I have an idea for your second question because we're really at the end here. We need to let Lia and Shannon get back to their lives because they've done such an amazing job for us. Rocky did ask a fairly large question. The first, Rocky, I'm gonna hold your first question and just ask your second one, which is there a sweet spot for the length of reels or videos? I assume he's talking about Instagram only.
So I'm going to say that generally 15 to 30 is your sweet spot. Interesting enough, we just finished up like a paid campaign on TikTok, and I've compared it actually to our organic stuff that we've posted without paid backing. And we have a longer attention span on the organic content because it's what we want to post. It's fun. It's not direct response. So I would say but honestly, the average attention span on videos is like 3 to 6 seconds. So if your goal is to have everyone try and complete your video, I wouldn't go more than maybe like 7 seconds, honestly. If your goal is to have, a complete thought, 15 to 30, and just know that you're going to lose people and drop off. But again, it's also a question of, do you want everyone's to look, or do you want, a certain percentage to actually be engaged?
Thanks, Lia. That was great. I think, and Rocky says thank you. He did have a question about algorithms, which I think we have way more. We don't have enough time to get into that. But Caleb brought up maybe a subset, and if you guys would consider coming back, I think even if we just engaged you for 15 to 30 minutes on it, he basically said, how do you build an understanding of your audience and community? So that goes beyond how to build things and more into how can you really hone in. And so if you guys are amenable to that, I'd love to have you back to kind of narrow down for a short period into that topic.
Yeah, let's do it.
Of course, I just put you on the spot completely. You can call me and yell at me later.
No.
But
anything for a fellow Tar Heel.
Thank you. See, thus are the bonds. Such are the bonds. Well, guys, what I'd like to do, I'd invite everybody to come off of mute, and this is going to be nice and chaotic. But do thank Lia and Shannon for their time. This was incredible information, and they are the people that we're turning to for these kinds of questions. So I was really happy and proud to share them with you, and thankful, ladies, for your time today. Thank you so much. And now I'll turn it over to the group. Everybody say thank you as loud as you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're just breaking Zoom convention anywhere we can see it. So not best practices. So I'm just going to say you guys were amazing today. I did record this, and we'll make it available to people that were on the Zoom. Thank you so much, and go Heels. All right. See you guys later. Thanks everybody for coming, and please keep your eyes peeled for the next Hug It Out session we'll have soon. Take care.